So welcome everybody to the Aspie Bridge show that we do here every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central. And I encourage everybody to check out all of our social media and so on. But over to you, Suzanne.
All right. Thank you, Emily. And welcome back to the Aspie Bridge, everyone. Today is special. Not like all the other. I want to say that up front. They're all special. But ever since March, I joined this wonderful lady who's beside me and the lady who was on last week. And we have formed a magnificent six group, about to be six, moderate part of this community, bringing back the community, which brings people together, and not just a neighborhood where you go in your garage and come out of your garage and go in and every day and stay separate. No, a community where you do activities together and have shared meals with each other and support each other. And Erin and I are both part of the wonderful neurodiverse group of people. And we are really wanting to create a community where you all feel heard and seen and your needs are met. And that's a big part of this is the next step into helping you find your place in the world where you can come home from work, come home from your activities and feel safe and have all your needs met in a neuro-inclusive community. And that is what today is all about, is learning more about that. We're both part of a group called the Golden Girls Gang on Facebook, which I put in my Aspie Bridge Facebook group page. So you can link up there. Let us know that you heard us on the Aspie Bridge so we can direct you to the right location. There are going to be several across the U.S. Actually, we hit all three sections. I'll be on the East Coast. Carrie from last week will be in the middle of the country, and Erin is going to be in California. So no matter where you're going to be, you can have a neuro-inclusive community that's going to meet your needs. Find the way that you can best live in a community without having your sensory your sensory sensitivities climaxed, or have your, that's not the right word, excuse me, have your sensory triggered. That's a better word. Or as well as your nervous system can finally relax when you go home. And that's a big thing. Welcome, Erin. I am so glad to have you here today.
Hi, Suzanne. Thank you. Yes, I'm very excited to be here today. I don't know if this is the first podcast I've done, but I'm pretty new to podcasting, so bear with me as I get through a little bit of nerves. Let me introduce myself into this space a little bit. So my name is Erin Beeman. I am a body worker by trade, and I live in Vallejo, California, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. I got into the co-housing movement about a year and a half ago after the sudden passing of my brother. And I started thinking about the next chapter of my life and what I wanted that to look like. And so I found the co-housing world mostly through seniors looking for ways to live together and share resources. And I found out quickly that it's a whole movement that's been around for about 40 years in America. And it's a way for people to live intentionally together in lots of different ways. There's lots of different ways people can live in community and have more structure and support, and like neighborhoods, like the way we were born to live, where we have more interaction with each other, but also can honor our needs for privacy and solitude when we want that. So I found, I fell into learning about co-housing through Chuck Durrett, who is an architect, and I'll talk a little bit more about how he's touched, especially on the neurodivergent communities, and how he's helping support that in his work. So I started taking classes with him and learning about all the different kinds of community-inspired living that's out there, and started to navigate and help organize people in the space, because a lot of people have this feeling that they want to live in community, but they don't really know how to start. And the existing organizations that are out there do have like monthly, Zoom meetings that you can go to, but it's only once a month. And so I started hosting some Zoom meetings once a month to help orient people to what co-housing is, what it isn't, what helps people be a good fit for co-housing. And the reality of where we are in the movement right now is that it tends to take a lot of financial resources. We haven't quite tapped into the affordability piece yet. That's where we're working on education and advocacy and trying to find new creative ways to find locations that can help support either repurposing existing communities and retrofitting them, or finding certain allowances within county and city planning to help create more community oriented neighborhoods. There's also a concept of, if you are the type of person that is in an existing housing situation that you can't really leave, can't really get away from, how can we have conversations with the existing community or the existing members of that community so that people can start to feel more supported and have a stronger sense of community and caring for each other? So there's kind of two ways we can come at this. If you are in a housing situation, right, we want to think about the difference between housing and community, right? So housing is our shelter, and a lot of times people are in affordable housing, which comes with a lot of government oversight and infrastructure, but you're there because maybe you need some government support. And so sometimes, given that the American standard is to go to your apartment and stay in your apartment and not interact with your neighbors too much, where have we been able to go into facilities like that and have conversations with the members that live there and say, what do you guys need to feel more connected to each other? And sometimes it's as simple as, well, I sure would like to go to the grocery store with my neighbors, once or twice a week. And then we're getting out together and we're making sure nobody's left behind. And it's just kind of adds a little layer of routine, and you don't have to go, but it's nice to know that on Tuesdays at 10, there's a group of people going to the market a couple blocks away. So just little things like that can help build a sense of community.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Social events and everything. And I think you and I kind of want to develop our own, where we can start it from scratch and put the pieces in place. We are both part of this Golden Girl gang, which means that we're going to be setting up these communities if people do not have the ability to get into it, appropriate changes in the place where they live. There are some apartments and communities that are very open to new ideas. And then there are some where, because they're trying to fill the maximum number of apartments, they're not as willing to make sure abiding by what's needed for you, which is why I jumped into it. I've had my own experiences with my senses getting overstimulated by some of the smells outside or the sounds around me. So I'm like, for me, I'm a tranquil place where I can create the bylaws with other people saying, this is what we're going to allow in our community, so that no one gets triggered. And I think that's a big part of it, is just making sure that everybody can come home from work, from wherever, and know that they are having their needs met. And as Erin was saying, it's great if you can get your housing facility to back you up. That would be the plus. And that if you love where you're living, but that's the only challenge, why not try and fix your housing so that they understand your needs more thoroughly? So what do you think belonging actually means, Erin?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that come up when we say belonging, like to a community, and especially as neurodivergent, I fear that that means more socializing, more interaction, imposed expectations, and then maybe I kind of resist that. For me, I think a sense of belonging means acceptance for like who I am and how I am in the world. Um, Sometimes I can be a little sharp in my speech. And if people understand that that they don't need to take that personally, if I'm a little bit direct, um, like that would help me feel like I have a sense of belonging. It also, means I don't have to like constantly perform to earn my place, like to feel secure that I have, this piece of um like security in this community, that I have this piece of home that I live in, or this shared home. Um Yeah, I think that's the biggest piece, is the acceptance of who I am. And a big part of that is my ability to know myself and to communicate that with other people and make sure that they're hearing me. Because sometimes I might go to the trouble of just figuring out what I need, and I say it in a way that makes sense to me, but somebody doesn't quite hear it. And so you have to take that extra step to be like, okay, you know, if I leave, halfway through the meeting, it just means I'm overwhelmed. Do you understand that? Okay, yes. And then sometimes I have to remind them, but a big part of community is advocating for myself, and communication and emotional maturity. We all have to have these pieces in place.
Self-advocacy is a big part of it. And knowing when we need the private time. A lot of communities are going to be set up, or maybe mine, maybe one of the few. I don't know. We're still learning as we go along what people want. I know my community is going to be tiny houses where, yes, you have the choice of, well, gee, I want to be a part of the big group today. No, I'm not into it right now. And letting your just feeling comfortable that you don't have to go out and socialize every day. You're accepted for what your needs are, and no one takes it offense. Yes, we will make sure we check on you as you get more and more into your senior years. You're going to want to have at least one person that will say, hey, are you okay?
Yep.
You don't want the whole crowd calling you up every 5 minutes and saying, we didn't see you today. Where are you? But in a neuro-inclusive community that I'm planning on setting up, I intend to have a buddy system whereby if you choose to have a day at home in your tiny home and you just want to talk to, you can just reach out to that one person and say, hey, just having a quiet day. And this is part of belonging. A lot of people are like, but you're not doing anything with anybody. That's the point.
Right.
That's the point. You are accepted for having that day alone. And as long as you check in so that they can report to everybody else that you're fine, you're not having a problem, then you can be who you are. And that's what I call belonging, is not feeling like you have to explain to everyone why you need a quiet day.
Right. Yep. And I think there's lots of ways to navigate those communications, right? Like I would picture a certain thing to hang on my door if it was like, do not disturb, right? Or if somebody was very sensitive to sound, or maybe they have headphones, or if they have, like my roommate, if she has her headphones on, I know that means don't talk to her, right? And we even live in the same house. And so I got used to that. Some things that are a little bit more challenging might be smells, smoke, cooking, sometimes people can be overwhelmed by those sorts of things. And I think that may, in a community decision, may have to come down to, finding times or ways to communicate, with people that are sensitive that, hey, I'm going to be cooking, you know, like from 5 to 7 to like just a heads up. Maybe they close their window, maybe they stay in their room, or maybe they leave. Right. But options, trying to find the best options that work for everyone. And I think it does come down to communication and acceptance and sort of this attitude of curiosity, right? Like not defensiveness, but like, okay, like not assuming the worst when someone's trying to communicate something to me, not assume that I did anything wrong, but that they're asking for a need of theirs. And can I accommodate it because I want to be a good community member? Because when I have a need, I want someone to try to accommodate for me. And I think that's the reciprocity piece. We don't all have to do the same things all the time, but maybe one day you drive to the grocery store and maybe one day I wash the windows, right? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. It is reciprocity. And you and I had that word right on the tip of our tongue at the same time. It is knowing each other and knowing that things are going to be okay as long as you just give the expectation. I find with me that as long as I know what's going on ahead of time, hey, okay, cool, I get it. But if I'm all of a sudden expected to read someone's mind, which we don't do well, if we read someone else's mind, we need to understand each other's expectations. Okay, why can co-housing be even more meaningful for us than it might be for neurotypical individuals?
Well, I think neurotypicals, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think it's important for everyone, for any human. I think we all have a calling to live in community. It just got it just got pushed to the side in this culture of hyper independence, and we all got insulated in our own families or in our own jobs or just in the way we live our lives. And we, especially with the pandemic, things got worse about communication and being with people. Neurodivergents have a hard enough time mixing with the general population, but we have trouble mixing with each other too. And I think that's why it's such a beautiful time right now that neurodivergence is having such an awakening and a moment in time where learning about our different styles and our own ability to advocate is really having a great moment right now. Co-housing, I think, is good for anybody that feels the call to live in community and has the emotional capacity to be honest with what they want and need, to advocate for it, and to participate in a community that that can help support them and they help support other people. It's really about being involved, to your own level of capacity. We want to give in community so that we can receive. And that's not something that's always honored or valued in our culture. A lot of people just want to take, or they want to pay to play. They want to pay to be left alone. And that's fine, but that's not what we're doing in co-housing. So if you're feeling the call to be around people, and to have that, then the payment is participation. And that doesn't mean you have to talk or be engaged. Maybe there's a way you participate with your headphones on, or one suggestion was a quiet table at the community meal. It's like, I want to watch everyone else eat dinner, but I don't want to talk to anybody tonight. I just want to sit off to the side. And then everybody can accept that,
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm going to come from the trauma situation. I think being in a community is going to be very helpful for people to find their own group of women and or men. For the neurodivergent, where a lot of us are late diagnosed and later diagnosed, meaning not until teens or older. And I think a lot of us have had in our own families, because this isn't a situation, a diagnosis, or even a self-diagnosis that came up until 2000 in the general public. A lot of us had parents and families that didn't always accept us. I like to think of it that going into a community is like a chosen family. You know, they always say you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. And I think by having a community that has people in it that respect you and you respect them, that can become a new family. Whereas a lot of the neurotypicals may not have had this situation. That's the only reason why I asked this question, Erin, is because I think that when you grew up without being neurodivergent, you just found where you belong naturally. And we had to work harder at being accepted for who we were. So maybe your family isn't quite the hugging and accepting of you, but there may be people like, I mean, I came into this Golden Girl gang and I felt instantly accepted for who I was. And that's what we want to put out to the community is finding the people who you do feel comfortable around that are almost like family. Why do you think that as we get older, co-housing is going to be extremely important for us?
Well, for sure, as we get older, we want to be planning for when we get older. I think that's something that so many of my generation says that, oh, I didn't think I'd make it past 75. Well, guess what? We're going to make it past 75. Starting to plan for those inevitabilities of aging and retirement. You know, I think it's always better to start planning early. I keep thinking back to the trauma piece of it. Actually, there's a little something in there about community and about repair. I think is an important piece to touch on, because if we treat co-housing like our chosen family, and if we came from a family that had some trauma background, one thing I learned in my various communities is in sticking with conflict and getting to the other side of conflict and getting the repair. That's how we build that sense of family and community. And that certainly wasn't shown to me in my family of origin. There was a lot of like door slamming and ghosting or ignoring or sweeping under the rug. And then there's hard feelings. So in co-housing communities, a lot of them, there are standardized formats for conflict resolution. And so we get an opportunity to get through that conflict into the repair phase so that we feel even more secure with our chosen family. Right. And that's something I think worth touching on if we're touching on trauma, you know, especially.
And I think that when you get into these communities, they can also help you heal, because they may have had a situation that's like one you've had, and they may be at a different stage of healing, and they can help you heal because they know what they've been through. So it's kind of like, as I say with my Aspie Bridge here, I've been over the bridge, and so here I am as a torchbearer saying it's possible. Now, if you were hanging around with people who never went through the healing process, it might not feel like it's possible. But if you were with people who had gone through different stages of the healing process, now you are on the path to healing as well.
Yep. It's nice to be around people who have found recovery from in healing any sorts of things. You know, there's all different kinds of recovery, and to bring that experience and share, you know, to help people. You know, I think we both like to help people and however we can. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other interesting thing is that in being neurodivergent, and I like to say this in my coaching, everyone have 2 steps forward, and you can have 2 great days or 2 great weeks, and then you might hit that 1 week where things just kind of fall apart. And who's going to understand that better than other neurodivergents who are going through that too, and say, hey, I know you're having a hard week. You just had that much. So here, let me here's my shoulder to lean on for you this week because you were there for me last week. And
Yep.
so providing each other with that soft place to land. I love that expression. I heard that many times. Being that soft place to land for someone else who can ride with you when your family wasn't able. Now that's where the chosen family can also be a benefit to you. What else would you like to add to our conversation today, Erin, that we haven't gone over? You had so many great nuggets in that information you gave me, and I want to make sure we hit on all of the different topics because there's so many great things in that.
Yes. I like to say we're not all crazy on the same day, right?
No, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Well,
we need each other.
I do want to touch on a couple of resources that are out
Yes.
there for sure for anybody who's new to co-housing or wants to learn more. There's a couple of national organizations and international organizations. There's the Intentional Communities, Foundation for Intentional Communities, that's IC.org, and they have communities all over the world and all different kinds of communities. You can learn about eco villages and homesteads and pocket hoods, so they're a very large organization. And then there's the National Co-Housing Alliance. That's a United States national organization, and they are all about traditional co-housing and community inspired adjacent models of co-housing. And they
I
also
just went to that meeting yesterday. It was fantastic.
it was great, right?
Yeah, it was very well organized. So you didn't feel like, oh, wait, what am I into?
Yep, they're very organized and
great.
they have a big learning platform. So you can purchase modules to learn about all different things from land ownership to conflict resolution to, I don't know, all so many things. So they have an institute there. And then also Chuck Durrett, Charles Chuck Durrett brought co-housing from Denmark to the United States, the concept of it 40 years ago. And he has a couple of books that he recently made about Solheimar Eco Village in Iceland. And that is 100 people live there, and 45 of them are neurodivergent or intellectually challenged. So he has 2 books about that place, and he has said he's designed over 55 co-housing communities around the world, mostly in the US. But he says that Solheimar is his favorite place to be in the world. He loves it.
Get there. Yeah, I want to go and see it.
Yep. And so the residents help take care of each other. And it's not like, it's just, it all works out. So he has 2 books. I think it's One Life, Live It, and then Inclusive Community Design, Lessons from Solheimar Eco Village. So what he says about that is that neuro-inclusion is part of ordinary life, and that people come in because everybody needs a sense of purpose and autonomy and relationships, and people need to be needed. And finding opportunities for everyone to contribute is what has been paramount there. And also building in the considerations for neurodivergence from the beginning, not trying to slap them on at the end, right? Like, let's think about, noise levels and, walking paths and, quieter areas in the larger spaces, so there's lots of things that can be done to consider our neurodiverse population.
Yeah, well, going on that whole idea of the books, which are so helpful, and I've taken a look at a couple of them. If you want something that will prepare your mindset, is part of this group that Erin and I are both moderators of. I came up with an A to Z list of how to get yourself emotionally, intellectually ready for the mindset of becoming part of being in a community. So if you're not sure if it's up to you, I can offer you that book that I created called A to Z Building a Community, to see if it's something that you can fit into, see if something's interested. I would love to share that with you. If you want to become part of the Golden Girl Gang group that we're moderators for, we'll take you and lead you comfortably so you don't get lost, don't get overwhelmed with a large group. We do have a large group of 41,000, but you came from the Aspie Bridge show. You heard it on the Aspie Bridge show. We can help you get to the right group so that you don't get overwhelmed and get you to the right resources. So we're not going to unleash you into 41,000 and say, swim. We're going to help you out because you are here. And Carrie, who we met last week, she's with us too. She'll help you out as well. We really are moderators that go the extra mile to make sure that people are going to get to where they belong. We're not just standing there moderating all the speech. We really want to help you get into your team. Is there anything you would like to add as we finish up today, Erin?
I think put your Crocs in long distance mode.
Yes. Oh, right.
This
yes.
is for as eager and as excited as people are in the space, especially in the social media space, because we're so accustomed to instant gratification with Amazon, where I can just, hit a button and have something delivered tomorrow. Finding the right fit with co-housing and learning everything that we need to learn about what it takes to, one, fit myself, into a community and find my community, let alone build a community from the ground up. I think prepare yourself. I gave myself a year to do the research before I really started reaching out and getting more involved. So, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's why I say get started early. And the more meetings you go to and the more people you talk to, the more ideas you get about what you want in your community, what's going to work the best for you. And I will just say, don't go for the low-hanging fruit of, I just want to live with people that are just like me, because that kind of misses the real magic of learning how to appreciate other people's differences. And by giving other people space to be who they are, we have space to be who we are. And it helps reduce sort of rigidity and just helps us be more flexible and open to all the possibilities that this world has to offer.
Absolutely. And I do want to say, and we moderators go through this regularly, when you come in, a lot of people have the concept that this is one large community that's growing. No, we are helping people create their own communities. And some of them will be mixed genders. If that's your cup of tea, great. If you're married to an individual who is neurodivergent and you're not, this might be a great way to get them. The group is going to be going after all ages, all genders, everyone inclusive. If you're someone who needs more of an all-female setup, I'm going to be doing that. So you're going to have choices, but a lot of people come in expecting this is going to be one large community in the Golden Girl Gang, and we have to constantly say, no, this is the top of the funnel. We've been using the word funnel. That's where you gather the information. And as you get to finding people who resonate with you through some of the comments that are being made on the Facebook group page, oh, I really like what she said. Let me get to know her better. And then you can connect that way. Rather than trying to find your tribe within 41,000, just kind of read some of the posts and say, yeah, I like what she said. I really kind of jive with that. Or, no, that's a little bit too much drama for me. I'm going to keep scrolling by. That's the important thing. If it's a triggering, keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. There's going to be, I'm sure, and I can almost guarantee, someone who's going to be more like you in the standpoint. And as Erin was saying, you do need to, you can't just say, well, she's just like me. I'm going to only be with people like me. But you can find people that you agree with. You have a common thread is what I started calling it. Where even if you have different opinions, there's still something common in there. So,
Yeah,
with anything you'd like to say, Erin, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I think just knowing that the larger group, at least for Golden Girl Gang, and there's other social media groups out there, right? Just keep in mind that social media, is big and noisy. But when you do find someone to reach out to, it was a little nervous at first to send someone a message, but say hi. I'm just a community organizer in the space, and I liked what you had to say. Like, would you like to have a conversation and see if they write back. Sometimes people are posting, people join like a geographical location based on where they want to live, and they join like the neurodiverse or the neurodivergent community and the all genders. And then that way they have more tailored feeds. So just be patient with the social media, because it can be a little overwhelming, but we just take it one day at a time.
Absolutely. And if you know who you are, you can enter the top of the funnel knowing who you are, gather the information, and as you decide who you are, where you want to be, and what kind of community you want to be in, you'll start to see that as you move down the funnel, you'll find more and more people that you want to be a part of. And that's when you join a team based on the geographical location you want to be in and the type of community you want to join. And then that will be moving you into the next steps.
Yes. And we can help you find, we're developing templates to help you figure out how to move forward and build community.
Absolutely. So I want to say thank you to everyone who came today. If you want more information on how to get to Golden Girls, I put it in the post on the Aspie Bridge show. You can go right to that link and come in. Let us know you're with you heard it on the Aspie Bridge show. We'll help you get through it without being overwhelmed. A lot of people say that coming in can be a little bit difficult, but we want to be there for you. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's coming. If you can send me some of your resources, Erin, I can put those in under our podcast notes on the Aspie Bridge, and people can go and find those as well.
Yep. I'll send you the books, and I'll send you those 2 websites.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And now I want to say to the Aspie Bridge. Next week, I have Kim Possible Rackham coming, and we're going to talk about Nourish with a big emphasis on some of the female needs that are out there, just to get you a little bit closer to who you are. And I want to say, Erin, thank you for coming on my show. I'm very glad you came.
Me too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you very much.
Bye.